We capitalized too much on VTubers, so I stated I would break down you and Idol Precure of all things. Yeah, we sunk that low to break down magical girl shows of all things. I don't know. Just know that Ninji Takahashi worked on it. We don't know jack about his style. Though, if I'm going to break the staff down professionally, then we may as well observe carefully. I'm just praying that Sakagaboru has the resources to pull through to help me out. Enough ranting. We are first introduced to Uta Sakura, pure idol, voiced by Misato Matsuoka. Her character's nice. I really hope she's not going to be constantly singing at people over whatever the hell. Congratulations, Fetch Frosh on Reddit, you predicted her entire personality. Now the character design itself is serviceable enough, done by the character designer for the installment, Miho Tsukimoto. I only knew him for that one cut in Freer in episode 21 when Denkin takes off its cloak. I know, I've seen that at the anime club. The characters are still relatively rounded, as is the aesthetic of the show on a Sunday morning time slot. It's basically the default art style either way. It's to be expected. If you've already seen this design, you've probably seen them all. Except Heartcatch. It's gonna be a field day once we finally get to Yoshihiko Umakashi. Anyway, there isn't really a whole lot to talk about. Basically, the bulk of the animation has to do with the fight choreography, which you would think by now Precure would start looking more and more on the lines of something coming straight from A1 Pictures. And don't use "oh, it's a kid's show, they don't need to try" as an excuse, because there is some effort in some places. The animation looks fluid enough for what it is for the most part, and even in calmer scenes. It's just not up to standards with the rest nowadays. Actually, I will make a quick statement. They had Mappa involved in backgrounds. Kota Adachi, Haruna Sakamoto, and Yuki Nishio. Figured I would just highlight on those, I guess. What is up to standards were the storyboards done by Chikai Kon, the series director. She graduated from the Yoyogi Animation Academy, interned under Studio Pierrot under anime director Jun
Kamiya residence.
There, she directed episodes 484 through 488 of Naruto Shippuden, as well as the When They Cry franchise for Studio Dean in the mid-2000s. She was a woman of many backgrounds in animation, so placing her in a Precure slot is an interesting career choice. In theory. Though, I can't imagine she was given much freedom on the show. So is there anything to mention in terms of highlights? All it really is bank animation. Submarine Makaranda sequence, bank animation by Toru Takano. Takano's been a staple at Toei for quite some time, mostly on Precure franchise, but he's also had a hand for doing stuff for Pokemon, Gegege no Kitaro, and World Trigger to name a few. Very flashy, Omoshida-esque in nature. It's that frame modulation that always strikes best, switching between 1s and 2s most of the time. Yeah, and he also did the Idol Smiling finisher. I also want to think they also did the Idol Fish Touch moments at times, but it's really unknown what it's like. We don't have a conclusive bank list yet, besides that for Digimon Frontier. Actually, I think it will highlight that Idol Fish Punch moment. There's some surprisingly dynamic frames that mimic the Obori punch in some ways. The punch itself is well timed here, and there's even some Kanata-esque timing here. Now, Yoshinori Kanata was a big influence back in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s, where he would often use frame dilation and his in-betweens for impact. Yoshimichi Kamada, Kazuya Hisada, and just about every trigger animator utilized that technique. The drawings during the punch in particular often moves between 2s and 3s, creating this jerky but stylish movement and animation. Still, I really wish I knew who did that part. They just seem genuinely well done. Though, the drawings were likely corrected by Yukiko Ueda. As for the transformation? Well, some people mistaken it for CGI at the time, but that's done by Kosuke Yoshida, someone who's not a Toei regular. He's mostly associated with as a freelancer on slower shows like Golden Time and Slow Start, but he's definitely capable of handling more complex movements. Like in Regala and Three Sacred Stars, and Uda's transformation and you and Idol Precure. No, seriously, that stuff's fluid. Almost, well, I wouldn't say Shida-like, but it definitely reminds me of Ria Onishi in terms of how the drawings are basically floating around and such. Anyway, after that, it's nothing much to explain about, but I imagine we get to Shida later. Or if we wind up with a problematic animator, Mitsuru Aoyama. He's often fun to talk about, apparently, but enough yapping. We'll talk again next week if my sanity demands that I do. Apparently I can't do basic research due to working over at a car wash 4 days a week. No wonder my schedule is bent. So when do you think that Naruto remake is coming out by Mappa?